Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, I'm John Dickmeyer. Welcome to Potpourri. Well, today I'm going to interview Better Than an Icon.
Thank you.
Because I have with me Terry Doran, and Terry Doran is a legend in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He is the original guy that back in the 1970s created Theater for Ideas, created a forum for folks to discuss important issues, and was a pioneer in access television. And here he is with me.
Well, thank
Terry.
you, John. Wow.
And, wow. What was the first time that you ever appeared on television?
Well, that's a good question. I started videotaping Theater for Ideas in 1975, but we did about, I don't know, 100 maybe before that weren't televised, because I really didn't even have a concept of cameras and all that kind of stuff at that time. But 1975 we started videotaping, and we videotaped through 1978, and we did about 80 shows, and thanks to the Cable Fund Access Board, who gave us a grant to transfer all those big, should have brought one, box tapes in the 70s. They were reel-to-reel. They looked like reel-to-reel audio, but they were reel-to-reel video, and they were transferred by a company in Philadelphia, George Blood Video, to digital. They've all aired here on public access, and the city of Fort Wayne not only gave me a grant, us a grant, track, and Friends of Third World, but who are our sponsors. And they put them all on archive.org, so anybody wants to see one, archive.org, Theater for Ideas, and we'll be playing one of those this upcoming year. It's one I did on the Holocaust, one of the best shows I've ever done, and I'm going to play part of it and then have a new discussion with a new panel, because I think it's still timely.
I'm going to back up just a little bit, and Terry mentioned George Blood kind of in a matter-of-fact way, but George Blood in Philadelphia is a prime restorer of old media, audio and video. His company is superb, and they did a superb job on these older tapes. And reel-to-reel is very, very sensitive. Well, so is VHS, except for the VHS is set so you can't touch it unless it breaks.
Right.
And
True.
And you never want to smudge any kind of videotape, but the restoration was really, really important, and they did a superb job.
They did indeed, and they were very, very good to work with. Very friendly, very caring, attentive to my request. And out of all those tapes, John, probably the most amazing thing is that all but one transferred. Now, a couple of them had lines, and we played those on Welt Radio, but the audio worked. But for the most part, the video was good too, and that's partly because these reel-to-reels, they are sensitive, but they were all covered in sort of a cellophane, and then they were in a box. So they were preserved well, and I want to thank the library here because the library preserved all those tapes up until now. I think now they got rid of them, but we got them transferred just in time.
And people don't realize with the magnetic media, tapes and so forth, every time you play them, a little bit of the iron oxide disappears. And if they're in too hot or too cold, boy, you can really lose what you've got pretty quick. So temperature control is important, and then keeping them in a dust-free environment. And the library does a good job with that.
Well, they were stored in the basement, and what's interesting to me is I thought they were all gone. I hadn't seen those tapes in 40 years. I had no idea where they were. I had no idea they even existed. And Eric Mulberg, bless him, died in a tragic accident not long after this. He took me down there and opened the door. He said, well, we got a lot of your tapes down here, but I thought they were on VHS 3/4. And there on the wall, there they were. I thought I was in Fort Knox. I thought, oh my gosh, there's all my treasures, all those shows.
And, there's, I believe it's a French, it comes from the French and is translated, make good friends but keep the old.
Yeah.
The one is silver, the other gold. Well, the golden ones tend to be like the first you've done, and wow, there are, when I first saw some of them, I saw people that I remembered when I was a whole lot younger, and wonderful, wonderful people. Now, that's golden, but we still have treasures that you're producing. And one of the things that you've done is a program that actually happened here in the library in June called River Drums, and I believe that probably was the fourth. Was that
the fourth River Drums? Yeah.
And we started River Drums as a festival on the Wells Street Bridge and roasted a day there, actually 2 days, I think.
It was one day, but it felt like a lot longer than one day.
I felt like I was there 2 days.
But John, you were there the entire day. You and Paul Brandt ran audio. And it was blistering hot on that bridge. It was in the night. It was Father's Day, and it was in the 90s, the temperature. And then you factor that in with that bridge, no shade, steel beams. It was about 110, I think, on that bridge. And I haven't been the same since, frankly.
I know. And then the second one was over in Headwaters Park,
Headwaters Park.
and I lost a camera on that one because it blew over in the connector.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I didn't
the
know that.
connector ripped out. So one of these days I'm going to have that fixed. But that was windy that day.
Yeah, and that was
Oh,
our
my.
2-day when we did a Friday night. I'd written a play, and in honor of Bill White, called "I Dream of Anne," a one-act play, and that play was on Saturday night, I think, and then Sunday was the day you're probably talking about when the
Yeah.
camera blew over.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was we were going to go a little bit longer, but the storm was coming in. But we got everything done we had planned.
It was a really good day, and one of the things about river drums, when we've had it outside, it's become a real festival with a lot of other people coming besides.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of at Headwaters was good because we had a lot of tables and exhibits, and it was very colorful there. It was in the small pavilion.
And then we had the first of our two here at the Allen County Public Library in the theater. And wow, the facility here is really great.
Yeah, it was a departure from being outside. My vision was to have something on or close to the river, but inside has so many advantages that they're not exactly glamorous like bathrooms, but that you don't have to worry about. And the temperature, no wind, no heat, and as you say, the theater here is beautiful. It's a pleasure to work with. The video comes out great, and so last year was the second year at the library.
So then comes towards the end of the summer, and one of the River Drums episodes was nominated for an award. And wow, here's the award.
Well, that's a different award.
But yes, this is a different award, but this is the cumulative
accumulation
for everything, because this award is in recognition of Terry for all his work.
Thank you.
For community television. And so he got an award for 2 river drums, but he also got this one.
Yeah, that was a great honor, and I think Patty nominated me for that, and I always remember when she called, she was so excited to tell me. But you're right, that's more of like a lifetime versus a 1 year. The one that you were talking about was Philo Awards, which was from the same organization.
Same organization.
And River Drums won one of those for interviews with young dancers from the Mexican dance troupe. It was beautiful, and their dancing's beautiful, but it was in a category called underserved voices. And so I just very, very fortunate, because that award and this big award, Roxy Cole, was the same year in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
You know what? Due to the good graces of Patty and Bob Hunter, we actually have your acceptance speech. And was that for this award?
Yes.
That was for the Lifetime Award. And if we could prompt my dear director, Christine, let's...
Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Back in the 70s, Terry Doran produced a weekly series of community forums called Theater for Ideas. Thanks to the city of Fort Wayne, Indiana, It is available for viewing on archive.org. These shows led to the founding of Public Access TV in Fort Wayne. Terry did the very first show in January 1981. He wrote plays, produced documentaries, and recently created Three Rivers Art Center for Kids, or TRAC. With TRAC, he produced a one-day festival each year called River Drums, celebrating the rich diversity in our city. This year, he won a Follow Award in the category of Underserved Voices. This was for the interviews and performances by the dance troupe Emissaries de Mexico. Today, I'm tickled pink to introduce to you the Roxy L. Cole Leadership Award for the 2019. The winner, Terrence Doran.
Thank you, Patty, for that lovely introduction. I want to thank you, and I want to thank Alliance for Community Media for this wonderful award. I feel very honored. It inspires me to keep doing what I've been doing for all these years, which mostly is just to shine a light on people I think deserve it, such as Justin Blessing, a talented young artist whose life was cut short tragically by mental illness. The discussion and program we did on Justin led to the creation of the Carriage House, a meeting place for disturbed adults. Or Susie Renfro, whose son took his life, a subject very dear to my heart, because my mother took her life. The show we did with Susie led to the formation of a 2-day workshop at a local university on the subject of suicide prevention. And Maria Reich, the Lady of the Lines in Nazca, Peru, South America, who preserved these mysterious, dazzling lines of geometric figures and animal figures. And Isabel Alvarez, who traveled from Cuba as a young girl to fulfill her dream of being a baseball player, played for the Fort Wayne Daisies in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, and blazed a trail for people everywhere. Betty Jane Spencer, whose sons were murdered. Betty Jane was shot in the head, left for dead, crawled for help, became a champion advocate for victim rights. I thank all these people, and so many more, whose spirit and determination to make a better world is what informs this award. And I end with Miss Virginia. Virginia Schrantz was a nurse in Fort Wayne, better known all over as Miss Virginia, who opened her home to those in need. I want to do a Miss Virginia Day to honor the volunteer spirit in all of us, and it's in that spirit that I accept this award with deep gratitude. Thank you.
Well, that is truly amazing. And it's proof positive of what I said in the very beginning. So the first part of what we talked about was achievement, and now we're going to morph this a little bit to focus that both of us have. And I think it's really, really important, and I'm going to kind of give him my feeling first, and then we'll go from there. But you know, there are a lot of issues that I think we have in the United States, and you know, no country, no culture is perfect. But to my mind, an area that we really need to work on in the United States is mental health, is the emotional and the inner health of folks. And there are a lot of issues that are symptoms that we need help. One of them is addiction of various kinds. The other is loss of life in our society that I think is unnecessary. And I think loss of life due to suicide is probably the worst of those things. And so, Terry, you focused a great part of your career on addressing some of these issues. I want to go back to some of the original shows, and we kind of laughed about it when we were selecting shows first to be taped or to be restored, and we'd pick out a tape, and it was on sex, and we kind of laughed about that, and then we got another one, and then I saw the shows. So it was real issues that men and women faced in the 1970s and we face today. So could you tell our audience about some of the issues that you folks discussed, we folks discussed in the 1970s that are still pretty hot issues today?
Well, that would be one, sexuality, and I must say I think I was pretty brave or foolish, depending on your point of view, to tackle that in the 70s, and with titles like The Joys of Sex, followed up by The Tragedy of Sex. But the point is, they were actually good discussions, and a lot of those shows we had as a forerunner to River Drums, which is, we've seen some clips, Festival of Cultural Diversity through art, and those old shows had a lot of art, we had some skits, like to illustrate the topic. We had dancers, we had music, we had all kinds of stuff. We also had professional, theater directors, social workers, therapists, mental health workers, all kinds of people. And I think my own experience of my mother took her life, and is watching the clip that we showed at Grand Rapids. That's where the luncheon was for the award. And then I also made a few remarks after we showed that video. But the middle of that video, the one with Dreams for Corey, it's a 4-minute video, but Susie Renfro's son, Nick, hung himself. And he was a young man, and as I said in the clip, this struck near to home for me because my mother took her life. And that show became a 2-day workshop at what's now PFW on suicide prevention. So I was proud of that. That's one reason I picked that clip. But you're right, John, addiction and loss of life. And I just read where the rate of suicide for young kids, 10 through 14, has, don't quote me, but it's like doubled in the last 10 years. And it's also increased in older teenagers. Now that is a sorry statement on the United States of America. When your children are taking their life, something is amiss, badly amiss, in a society, in our society.
I think one thing that helps is if they're talking, if you've got people talking to you, they can't be going out and doing themselves in.
That is a very good point. We called that 2-day conference Extend a Hand, which I got that title from a gentleman whose son, and I can't remember who it was, but anyway, he said, can't we all just extend a hand? And I thought that really captures it, and that's what you're saying. Extend a hand, reach out a bit, talk to people. Often that's what's needed.
And the thing is, you don't have to do more than just talk and say a friendly word. Like, I'll talk to just about anybody that's in line with me. And it's amazing, you know, you see someone, they've got kids, and, you know, you talk about their kids, or you talk about something that they brought, and, you know, it's non-threatening, but you're talking and they're talking, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is communication, the human touch. It cannot be replaced. There's nothing like it. And I think a big problem is social media has separated us from each other in that respect of actually talking to each other. Now, it has a lot of virtue, too. And you're a master at all these making DVDs and all this stuff, and you know, but it's important that the one-on-one and the personal, in person. Is my point.
I'm also a little bit apprehensive about some technology that you can escape into cell phone messaging, and you can escape into video games. And I like video games, and I like cell phones, and I like cell phone messaging. But I see a difficulty when two people are in the same room and they're messaging each other on a cell phone when they could be talking.
Because they could be talking, absolutely. And we all know, you turn around and so often just people, you look at them, they're looking at a cell phone rather than each other.
You need to do this. You need to look at people eye to eye.
You know, and then care a little bit. You know,
Oh,
people, it's not always obvious that somebody's in, you know, distress. Some people can hide it pretty well.
And they can. And I don't know, maybe what I need to do is I need to give you an opportunity quickly to say a last word.
Well, my last word would be, John, you, Patty, Bob. Bob made this beautiful documentary about me. This is caring about people right there in this room. And everybody who works for TRAC is a caring person. And that's probably what I'm proudest of for TRAC, is it attracts people who really, really care. And that's what we're talking about. It starts with that. Caring. Oh, you don't feel good? How you doing? Need some help? You're great at that. You told me. All you got to do is ask. What a great line, really.
And there you've heard it, folks. And we've come to the end of another program. So I invite you to watch us again when you have an opportunity. Thank you, Terry.
Well, John, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you all. I'm John Dickmeyer, and this has been Potpourri.